we had agreed that after the season, because of people who left the team, the Niners were not as good as they were last season.
Yes.
Now they've had the draft. Have they reached the level based on the draft? Have they reached the level they had achieved at the end of last season in terms of a quality team?
I'm going to give my answer, but just like my dad said, I'm not a huge draft guy. I do my homework, but I don't really know what these kids are going to do. This is my perception of what the Niners did in the draft. This is my perception. They drafted a bunch of players who have a lot of potential, upside. They went full upside in this draft. But all of them except for one, if you read their scouting report, is like, needs to add a little bit, needs to add some strength, needs to work on his technique, but the potential is through the roof. So it seems like they drafted a bunch of guys with an eye towards 2023. So I don't even really think that this draft class is going to change much. I think the question of are they as good as they were last season kind of depends on players they drafted last year. Can I go through it?
Please.
So, like, for example, they signed Charvarius Ward, cornerback. They upgraded at corner. They start there. They upgraded at corner. They also upgraded their special teams. But then they let a bunch of veterans leave. Strong safety Tart, nickelback K'Wan Williams, left guard Laken Tomlinson, right tackle Tom Compton. Jimmy Garoppolo isn't gone yet, but he probably isn't the starter anymore. And DJ Jones and Arden Key. It's seven vets that are no longer in the picture. So I think it depends on, is Talanoa Hufanga a good strong safety? Is Diamador Lenore a good nickelback? Is Aaron Banks a good left guard? Is Mike McGlinchey going to be good coming off this injury? Is Trey Lance good? How many of the six unknown young guys are going to be as good or better than the guys they're replacing? And so right now, I would have to guess, I think Lance could be better than Jimmy. After that, I don't know. I really don't know. Javon Kinlaw, the guy they drafted in the first round a couple of years ago, if he could stay healthy, he might be as good as DJ Jones and Arden Key. Maybe that's two. But the Niners seem to be really, really banking on a lot of guys they drafted in like round 3, 4, 5, couple years ago. I don't know. It seems like they're kind of going young. And my guess is that maybe in 2 years, they could be a Super Bowl contender. But right now, it seems like they took a little bit of a step back. That's the way I see it.
Okay, so we both agreed that they weren't as good at after the season ended when they lost people as they were last season. And you're saying the draft may have made up for some of that, but some of it is still speculation because we don't know how good these people will be. So they're placing a lot of their production in faith and hope.
Faith and hope and competition and coaching and basically betting on themselves. If we have 4 young guys that we drafted, there'll be a competition. One guy will emerge and he'll be good. Maybe. Or maybe you'll just have competition between a bunch of guys and someone will start, but he won't really be a great starter. Last year was interesting. They didn't want this last year. Last year, they said they're a championship roster. They had to have an entrenched vet at every spot. This year, it's like, well, we'll see. We'll let some young guys compete. So I think that kind of just shows you how they're approaching the season differently. They're not tanking or anything, but they have essentially a rookie quarterback who's very young, and I think they don't know what to expect from this year.
Unproven.
And he's unproven. And so they're like, okay, well, if we're going to go with an unproven quarterback, why don't we go unproven at left guard, nickelback, strong safety, defensive tackle? And if all those guys work out, then this team could be better than last year. If not, maybe it's like one small step back to take 2 steps forward in a couple of years when Trey Lance actually has some experience.
Here's a follow-up question. Based on what you see now, including the people they drafted and the undrafted free agents, in the NFC West, would you rank the Niners second or third?
Well, the Cardinals' top wide receiver just got suspended for PEDs last night.
Yeah,
I was actually saying, I think the Cardinals are better than the Niners, but without DeAndre Hopkins, forget that team. I would say the Niners are probably second in the NFC West, and the NFC in general is really down. So the Niners could be a playoff team this year, even if they're worse than last year. They could be.
That's a very interesting point.
Yeah.
So even if they're not quite as good, the NFC is a little diluted,
Yes.
and they're a factor. And I want to say again, could have a very interesting and dramatic season as they did last season.
Absolutely. And what was interesting is they started off 3-5 last season. They went on this amazing tear down the stretch. Some of the key guys are gone from that, but I think the key guy from that stretch was Debo. And for now, he's still here. And they might upgrade at quarterback. So maybe, look, if Forget everyone else. If Trey Lance is significantly better than Jimmy Garoppolo, this team is better than last year. How about that? The quarterback.
I love it.
Yeah.
And
Forget everyone else. Yeah.
I
It
would
comes
also
down to him.
remind our viewers of one thing. Obviously, I did sports writing for a long time, and I covered all the Bay Area teams. For me, the biggest story and the most joy always came from covering the Niners. And if I had been covering them last season as Iggy did, I would have been thrilled. I
Yes.
would have been thrilled.
Yes.
They really provide a lot.
You know, when they started off 3-5, it was gratifying. I felt like I was right about them. And then when they went on that run, it proved me wrong in a lot of respects. But at the same time, I was glad to be proven wrong. It was nice to cover a team that was good and going places as opposed to a team that was falling apart in October. I really enjoyed last season. It was fun.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to move along.
Let's move along.
Another draft question for you. And again, I don't have the slightest idea.
Real quick, do you hear my door like shutting, slamming every minute or two?
No.
Should I close that? Okay, good. Never mind. Good. All right, we're good.
No, I don't hear it.
Good. Good.
Is my sound coming out good?
It sounds great. Sounds great. You look good. You got a good background. I got to get my background up. Like
Iggy's bedroom when he was a kid. You could even see Spider-Man behind me and
Spider-Man.
Okay.
And Tintin.
Tantan.
Tantan.